Привет из Сингапура! С вами передача «Голубь мира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите перевод в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about Agile and let's start with the definition.
Agile, this is the way how people sometimes decide to make their projects or to write software. There was a manifest with 12 principles how to create software. For example, there are just good rules like people is more important than the documentation. A working program is much more preferable than your suggestions how it should run. And Agile is very easy to understand if you are a programmer, when you make coding and you are trying to make your best. Sometimes people who order the development, they will sit in their small chairs, in their small sleepers, and they will not give you ability to create a good product. So they will be like anchors, like brakes. But if you able to maintain interactions and you say, tell, make calls, maybe they will agree that you will make the less amount of documentation, but you will write the most great product.
What are the key principles that actually define the efficient Agile?
There are several of them. First, it's people should work with people. Do not mess with letters, with some memorandums, minutes. The more you write, the less you will be understood. Second, product which is workable is more important than documentation that cover everything. Second, сотрудничество. Collaboration is more important than to fill contract and to go step by step as it's written. And the last one, you should be ready to change everything if you think that it is good and it will give a better results.
And before we talk about the levels of mastery, actually, it will be additional question. So what is the sphere of application of the Agile? Because sometimes even in the startups that I was working at, the entire company said like, hey, we actually in Agile and we do things in a very flexible way, but usually there is no explanation giving. And sometimes the agility to do things or certain flexibility means that sometimes we can choose what exactly direction we will take. So it probably sometimes may have nothing to do with the principles. So again, my question is like, what is the sphere of the application of the Agile?
Sphere of application for Agile is quite wide, but you're quite right. You should build your figvam about a very strong pillar. And the main pillar is project should be built around the people. If you have people which want to make great product, which think about future and they develop themselves and also project, you have a chance to create something good. But if you just will proclaim, let's work under the Agile, it would be a mess because a lot of people would skip some duties because we're working in Agile. This is not about skipping some parts or some phases or some phrases. This is about how to invest all your time and all your knowledge to benefit of your customer, not to be defended, to sit in the castle and say, come on, we have done our job. This is how to make bridges, a lot of bridges.
So it sounds like sometimes when the Agile is misused, people, as you said, might be sitting on their ivory towers and do this so-called Italian revolt, where they actually, like do things, but in fact, they don't really produce any meaningful outcome. So once we covered the area of the Agile, like in terms of the definitions and the scope or the area of the application, what are the levels of mastery that the one who wants to truly implement it in the organization should possess?
First level of Agile, you tend to create product which is work, and you do nothing just this. But sometimes you make it too complex. So second level is simplification. And the last level, this is to make the product as an art. So it should use as less resources as possible, as less people as possible, as less money as possible. It should be environmental friendly in all meanings.
And you actually touched on some of the areas where which would be a nice segue to my next question. So, for example, when we're using least resources as possible, so we may talk about the lean approach. And sometimes when it comes to agile, it might be have some sort of intersection with maybe Kanban, maybe Scrum. So, what is the definition between all of these two approaches? Whether they co-live together or one can like be combined with another?
In Russian, I will explain it very plainly, but in English, maybe I will miss some words, maybe I will need some of your assistance. Okay, Kanban, this is how to show the process. Agile is how to make flexible approach to чтобы включать новые доработки легко, безболезненно и учитывать пожелания. Lean, this is about do not do things until it is finished. For example, why should you write documentation? Maybe your interfaces or some databases or architecture will change slightly, and you should rewrite everything. So do not put horse after the wagon.
That's correct. So, and in terms of the mistakes that people make when they're trying to be agile, what are they?
First, agile is a modern word. Okay, now we know this for 20 years, but for example, in Russia and Ukraine and Kazakhstan, this word was well known for 10 or 12 years. But to be honest, when we were living in Soviet Union, we didn't call it as agile, but it was almost the same principles. You know, Lean and Six Sigma, Kanban and Kaizen, just in time, and some other stuff which was invented by Americans or by Japanese productive firms, they are quite similar to approaches which are used by Soviet Union or China Republic and some other. So this is nothing new, this is just words.
And in terms of the application of the agile, so we only talked about how it could be used maybe in the software development, meaning that it should be a business or corporation, but whether it could be used in the real life, I mean, the personal life as well.
Wow, to be in personal life for agile, yes, yes. For example, this could be done when you just meeting the girls or men's. So if you will meet first man or girl, it depends from your sex, from your gender. Yes, you could specify parameters for next person. Yes, it sounds not polite, but it's very true. So if you will have like several meetings, after some of them, you will understand, okay, come on, I will not go for the meetings if there are some conditions is not fulfilled.
So I actually would compare it with another example that gives that each version is the prototype for the next one. And my last question will be how knowing about the agile would help to make this world a better place.
You just used the very right word I forgot to use. This is about prototype, and you give the most important impact of our postdoc in our podcast, because yes, you was right. Each your version is prototype for the next version, and this is approach I like very much. You know, you could be or a very smart person or very productive person. I am not smart, so I use an agile all the time. I just write the program, and then I look how it works, and then I make improvements. And a lot of people think that this is a very long way, but this is a very productive way. Japanese people, they say that small snails will go to the Fuji mountains because it wouldn't stop.
А мы рассмотрели навык Agile и чем он полезен именно вам. Всем мира!